small lures will catch both small and big fish. Big lures will just catch big fish. What's up, everybody? Tanner back with another video. Today, I'm making a little survival fishing kit. This is just a Copenhagen mint pouches little can that I picked up at a grocery store. So I'm going to be putting all my stuff in this kit and building a little mini pocket survival kit that is going to actually go in my life jacket for when I'm canoeing. So that's why I went with this Copenhagen can rather than an Altoids can, because of the size. It actually just fits perfectly in my life jacket pocket. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I did is I went ahead and cut a circular sliver out of a coffee can lid, because this is going to be my little line winder. So I'm going to wind my line up on this and just create a little spool to carry my fishing line in. So for the fishing line, moving on, I'm going to be using 40-pound test, but this is braided line. Now, the reason I chose braided instead of monofilament is simply because of the reason that this is capable with northern pike or any fish that have teeth that would break monofilament line. I can catch usually a few northern pike on braided line without them breaking the line. Now, don't get me wrong, they do have razor sharp teeth. Every few fish, you might have to replace or fix your line if you are using this without a steel leader. But regardless, this is, in my opinion, because it's 40-pound test as well, it's just more versatile than monofilament line. And as you can see right here, it says 10-pound diameter. So 40-pound test in braided line is about the same diameter as about 10-pound test for monofilament. So in my opinion, braided line is just more versatile than monofilament, especially for a survival fishing kit. There's definitely benefits of monofilament, but another thing to mention is if you're fishing in cold weather or ice fishing, this stuff's going to hold up a lot better than monofilament. So anyways, there's a lot more benefits, in my opinion, of braided versus monofilament. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get this little line winder. I'm going to go ahead and wind this up. We can fast forward that a little bit, but just going to go ahead and take this 40-pound test, do a little double overhand, and then I'm going to lark's head this, and we'll get it winded up. So the good thing about this stuff as well is it just bites on itself a lot better than monofilament line. So you can get a pretty easy, I'm going to go ahead and do a double overhand just because it bites down really easily. So you can see right there, it's not going to go anywhere. If that one monofilament, it just has a better chance of slipping, in my opinion. So this is better for that as well. So now I'm just going to do a little lark's head, run that through. Alrighty. So now let's pull this tight. Go ahead and pull that tight. Make sure that's all divvied up. Alrighty. There we go. So now it's not going to run out of line. I could hold on to this thing. It's not going to come loose. So now I'm going to go ahead and just wind it up this way. Keep on going. I could get rid of that tail, and because I got my little scissors right here, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Cut that a little too short, but too late now. Not a big deal. It's not going to come undone, I don't think. All right, let's go ahead and wind that up. I'm going to trim these edges once I do have it all winded up. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this process. You don't have to sit down, but I'm going to try to just make the entire thing as even as possible. I think it's good to have more line rather than too little line. So go ahead and speed this up here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do it like this. So this is all I've got going on. So in order to unwind this pretty easily, I'm just going to put that between my legs and just pull it, and it'll come off super easily. So, all right. So I went ahead and wound it about 50 feet or so onto this little line winder. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this off. I'm going to just do a double overhand again. So 1, 2, let's go ahead and pull that tight. Creates a little knot in that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make a little slit in the corner right here. So now I have a little slit. Now simply all that is just catches it so it doesn't pull through. It just keeps it a little bit more organized to where it's not going to unravel itself. So not a super important detail, but just a small something that could keep it from pulling out. And I don't want this all to come undone when it's in my little kit. So now let's go ahead and tear out the rest of this that's unneeded. All right, let's try to match that a little bit, even though it's going to probably be kind of hard. All right, well, so it's not the prettiest thing ever, but it's free and very easy. So I'm going to take it and cut out this little tail right here. So again, this is the final product of the line winder. This is going to fit in here relatively easily with a lot of space. So now we still have a bunch of space. We got the line. Now we just got to add some stuff around here. Let's go ahead and pick some things to add. And I already do know a couple things. So starting off with, this is my bigger fishing kit right here. I want to go ahead and add 5 or 6 weights of various sizes. So right here, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weights. And I'm just going to go ahead and put those all in there. Luckily with these, they don't really take up any space because they're just so small. Those are going to be just to add to the line in case I need to weight it down and just let it sink on the bottom. Gives me some more versatility, but nothing super special. All right. Now that I have both the line and the weights in there, I do want to go ahead and add a lure. So one of the lures that I have that I'm going to go ahead and add is a very small crawfish lure that is simply something I throw on the bottom of this line and just walk away from it. And it's something that I could use to catch pretty much every single type of fish that is going to fight for a lure. And the perfect thing with that is if you can see it just kind of curls up in the corner like that. So let's go ahead and keep that in there and go ahead and find what else I want to add. All right, so now that I have the lure, the weights, and the line set up, I want to go ahead and add a few hooks. So right here I have 3 catfish hooks, but I want to go ahead and also add, this is something my friend got me into, but it is micro hook fishing. So these are just a bunch of micro hooks. You can use these to catch pretty much any small fish that you can possibly imagine. Little minnows, little small baby bass, anything. And this can help you catch bigger fish eventually, as you could use a small fish for bait and all that. But I'm going to try to target pretty much every single size and species that I can think of around here. Now, I got to be careful not to drop all these, but I'm going to add about 5 or 6 of these small micro hooks. And there goes one hook right into my finger right there. They're so small, it's hard to be careful with, but let's go ahead and add these into my little clothespin that I have here. So again, I got 4 or 3 little catfish hooks that will sit on the bottom. They'll cut the hook automatically. And now I'm going to go ahead and add these so they don't fit. That's why I use a cork. So those little don't fit. So I think I'm going to take this and go ahead and cut the bottom of that off and use that for all the hooks. Let's go ahead and put this just like that. And again, these micro hooks are going to just be useful for pretty much everything. I'm going to use it to catch little bait and whatever need be in order to catch bigger fish. And I'm just going to go clockwise and they're going to overlap and probably not going to be the prettiest thing ever, but I'm okay with that. So now one thing that is worth mentioning about this cork could actually be used as a bobber as well. So I know that it takes up a lot of space, but I'm not super worried about it because it is a backup bobber in case I need one. So I'm not really worried about the fact that it takes up a lot of space, even though the little clothespin would have been a little bit nicer. So let's just go ahead and keep on adding on to this because I've already got the space. So why not? Alrighty. So, oh, that's going to bother me. That's overhangs a little bit. Let's replace that with another hook. Alrighty. So that's about enough micro hooks in my opinion. Probably got about 15 on there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the kit right here. But then let's go ahead and focus on some bigger hooks and catfish hooks like I was saying. So we're going to go ahead and add just a few straight barb hooks right here. Let's add 3 of those. Now those are a little bit large, so I want to add something that's a little bit smaller. All right, so here's something a little bit smaller that I like. So let's go ahead and so now we got about 6 hooks on there. I'm going to call it a day for that, because that's going to take up a lot of space. It doesn't really look like it, but in this little dip can, it will take up a decent amount of space in there. So let's go ahead and move those to the side. Now let's see where we're at. So let's go ahead and add this line in first. So we're going to add the line. Let's go ahead and add the hooks to the side. The lure right here. Let's try to make sure we don't snag it on that line. So we got that lure in there. And then we're going to go ahead and add the weights. I think I'm still going to have a decent amount of space in here. Go ahead, the weights, and then the larger hooks right here. All right, so as you can tell, it might look full, but it's actually, there's a lot of space in there. So we're going to go ahead and keep adding some things in here. Let's get all this stuff out and put aside so we know what all we have in here. It doesn't have to be the prettiest looking thing in the world because this is not necessarily something that is designed to be used every day. I'm kind of just making this a little survival kit using what I have caught fish on in the past and hoping that I can mimic that so we can catch more fish if need be. All right, last but not least, we got all those things in there. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 bobber. So the bobber is used for obvious reasons. I could set up a little line that I'm not watching and, come see if it's going to have caught anything or not. And then I'm going to also put a little spinner bait or a MEPS, whatever the heck these things are called. I've used them a lot. I never remember the names for whatever reason, but these are, I do like using these. I mean, it's active fishing for sure, but if you don't want to go search for bait, then this is something that's a good option to use because here's the thing about that's interesting about this and the thing about fishing that I always like to think about. So, small lures, I heard this from my mentor, Dave Canterbury. So, small lures will catch both small and big fish. Big lures will just catch big fish. So, I've kind of prioritized again, there's that little crawfish lure. And now, this is the second small lure. So, I'm using this as, the ability to catch both big and small fish. So, I want to use it and make sure I have whatever is most versatile. So, anyways, now we've got a serious looking fishing kit right here. So, this is something that could definitely catch us some fish. All we need is a stick, and we've got everything else that we need to set up multiple lines, get multiple lines in the water, and catch multiple fish. I probably have more hooks in here than I need, but it's okay, and I'm not really worried about it. Now, let me go ahead and add one more thing in here that's going to finish this kit off, in my opinion, perfectly. All right, so the last thing I want to go ahead and add in here to this little survival fishing kit is going to be a little soft plastic squiggly tail worm. That's just something I can use to walk away, jig it up and down, and I can catch, bass, pretty much anything, bluegill, anything of that matter in the water. So here's another example. And worst case scenario, I could cut off little pieces of this and feed it to minnows. And I've done that before, and they actually, I don't know what they think it is, but they think it's food, and they actually kind of tear it up. So let's go ahead and add those in there. And that kind of creates a full little fishing kit. It's, not the prettiest thing in the world. It's not going to be spread out, making, it's not going to look as pretty as some other kits, but it's going to be very usable. And I just realized I forgot my one thing, because if I'm going to be using this up north, I want to go ahead and add a steel leader. This isn't going to take any space at all. I'm just going to go ahead and circle it around the edges. So let's go ahead and do that right here. All right, let's go ahead and close this up, seal it. Now that it's completely sealed, you can hear that there's a little bit of rattling in there. So there's a little bit of dead space, but not too much. Now, all I'm going to do is go ahead and tape this up. One little tape piece right here. Then I'm going to call it a day. This is going to be my little survival fishing kit. All right, guys, before I tape this up, I want to show you guys everything that's in this kit. So again, one lure, two lures, two little plastic lures, and then a bunch of hooks right here and here, a little bobber, about 50 to 100 feet of line right there, some sinkers, and then a steel leader in case I'm catching pike or something like that. So all of this, it's actually a lot of stuff that fits in this little dip can. So let's go ahead and put this sealed up, and let's go ahead and get that tape on it. All right, let's go ahead and tape it up. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this kit is the truth of the matter is the fact that you got to cook your fish if you want to eat it. And there's not a lighter in here. So I do carry a lighter in my life jacket pocket, and this is what I'm putting in my life jacket. But with that being said, I feel like it's still an incomplete kit without a lighter. And there's probably still one or two other things that I'd like to add. So I'm not 100% fully hyped about this kit, but I can always make another video in the future. And I do plan on using this actually soon just to test it out and show you guys that the fish that you can catch with something like this with just minimum gear. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. So as always, I do appreciate it so much. If you guys don't mind, please do subscribe and comment, as it helps me out a lot. Tell me what else you guys would add to this little kit. I just wanted to make something that's super small that I could just stick in my life jacket pocket. Didn't want to make a big deal about it, but it's just a teeny little kit that I think could get me a decent amount of fish. So if you guys have any suggestions or questions, just let me know in the comments below. But I'll see you guys in the next video. And thank you as always. Tanner, out.